Hi, everybody. It's Amanda. I'm here today to talk to you about part 9 of the ecology of zero waste called The Problem with Plastic. And plastic really is a big deal. Globally, over 380 million tons of plastic is produced. And that's a really big deal because the entire plastic lifestyle poses health risks. It's a social and environmental justice issue. And the production of plastic contributes to climate change. So we're going to talk about plastic in this module. So what is plastic? Well, it's a synthetic material. It can be molded, it can be a film, it can be rigid, it can expand with air. It's very versatile. Unfortunately, plastics contain a lot of chemicals, and it often depends on the type of plastic. The type of plastic can give you indications of the types of chemicals that are in them. And 99% of plastic is created from fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are a natural resource, but they're a finite resource, and the extraction of fossil fuels contributes to climate change and causes a lot of pollution in the area. But plastic is very inexpensive to produce, and that versatility has made it very popular over the decades. Plastic really just got started being produced in mass production after World War II, so around the 1950s. So we've really only had it in use about 70 years. And in those years, plastic has become incredibly popular because it is so inexpensive to make. It's very versatile, and it comes from fossil fuels. So we generate a lot of fossil fuels. So we have that excess material to make this plastic. So while it has become successful, it has also become a problem, and that's why we're talking about it here. But there are a lot of different types of plastic, and the resin code that is on every type of plastic can give you indications of if it's recyclable, what chemicals are in it, and what type of plastic it is. So you've probably seen the number 1 through 7 on plastic with chasing arrows around them. But I want you to know, first off, just because plastic has a chasing arrows around the number does not mean it's recyclable. Unfortunately, the plastic industry lobbied very hard to keep these chasing arrows on the resin codes, even though there aren't recycling markets for much of the plastic that we use every day. But a lot of what we'll see that is common are number 1 plastic, number 2 plastic, and also some number 5s and number 6s. So just remember that these numbers are resin codes. They give you an indication that it may or may not be recyclable based on the number. And the number also gives you an indication of what chemicals were used to produce it. So I could spend an hour just on these numbers, but I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. But I'm happy to talk to you guys about more about plastic, any of it, because this is a very complicated lesson that I'm really trying to shorten for you guys. But plastic is produced from fossil fuels. So this is the supply chain or the life cycle of plastic, and it really starts with our earth, just like everything we use does. And it gets extracted from our earth. It needs to be refined, produced into whatever packaging or product it is. Then it goes to stores. Then we as consumers buy it, and then we dispose of it. So there is pollution from plastic along all parts of this supply chain, unfortunately, from extraction to disposal. And this is a big deal. This is why in the zero waste world, we try to regulate plastic. We try to reduce the use of plastic because it's very detrimental to our planet from extraction through refining and manufacturing, the use of it, and disposal. Most of probably the information you've seen the past few years have really been on plastics in the environment and what a big deal that is. And it really is a big deal. We do not want plastic in our environment. We do not want it in the ocean. We don't want it there. But I just want to emphasize to you guys that plastic really is a problem with pollution and with climate change implications from the point of extraction from our earth. And that's really a big deal. So here I'm going to give a quick example of the pollution associated with plastic and divide it between upstream and downstream. So upstream means before the point of purchase or consumption, and downstream is everything after we purchase an item. It is then considered downstream. So plastic pollution upstream includes, this is during the extraction of fossil fuels, during the refining process and the manufacturing to turn it into a bottle or a plastic bag or a plastic toy. And during these processes, there's air and water pollution. So it affects the ecosystems near these refining and manufacturing plants. And you know what? It also affects the neighboring communities. So unfortunately, the neighboring communities to plastic manufacturing and refining plants are often in low-income brown and Black communities. So that's another reason that we should care about plastic. We should avoid using it. We should use reusable items instead of single use because of these upstream pollution that happens. So plastic pollution downstream is what we're all more familiar with, the air and water pollution, the pollution associated with plastics going to the landfill, and especially the pollution associated with ecosystems and wildlife and nature. So that's a lot of what we think about. Plastic escapes from recycling trucks, from garbage cans, from landfills, and gets into our ecosystems, our forests, our lakes, our oceans, and it absolutely does. So the thing about plastic is it never really goes away. Plastic photodegrades. It doesn't biodegrade like a paper product would if it escaped into our environment. So plastic photodegrades. So what that means is it slowly turns into smaller, brittle pieces of plastic when it's exposed to sunlight, air, water, waves, salt water. So it gets smaller and smaller and turns into smaller pieces. And then the oceans just become basically a soup of very small pieces of plastic. And unfortunately, that's what we have out in the ocean right now. So plastic pollution has been seen just about everywhere. It's in the Arctic, the ocean trenches, so very down deep into our deepest part of the oceans. Plastic has been found in animals, unfortunately, just like sea turtles here in Florida. It's in the soil, plastic is in the air, it's been found in tap water, it's been found in bottled water, and plastic is much more in bottled water than tap water. It's found in salt, so plastic pollution is everywhere, and that's why it's a really big deal. So in the zero waste world, what we try to do is we try to eliminate single-use plastic. We don't think that packaging should be created that out of a material that lasts forever, but for a use that is a very short amount of time. So think about a plastic bag or bottled water that you get. The plastic bag you use maybe 10, 20 minutes. Bottled water, you might drink out of it. It takes you 20 minutes to finish that. But just think about the pollution upstream that was created to make that packaging, and then the possible pollution downstream. If this plastic bag or the plastic bottle was to get into the ocean, it would slowly break up into smaller pieces. And you know what? It would last forever, but you really only needed it for 20 minutes. So there are reusable alternatives, and that's what we really emphasize in the zero waste world. So we want to reduce our reliance on plastic. That is a very big part of zero waste. We want to stop plastic production at the source. We don't think that plastic should be made into any single-use materials. Maybe we need plastic for more long life materials. It's been very useful for that. Think about helmets or parts in your car to make them more lightweight. Those kind of long life plastics have really been beneficial to humans. They really have. But in the zero waste world, we want to reduce the single-use plastic. We want to eliminate it at the source, meaning those refining and manufacturing plants, we want them to stop making single-use plastic. We want to ban single-use plastics, meaning not allow them to exist. We want more and more advocacy groups doing the education on plastic pollution, just like you guys got right here. And we want everybody to make a connection between environmental justice and social justice issues with the production of plastic. And remember, that's the upstream. Plastic is an unjust material to people and the planet. And we want to move to reusable items and reusable systems and create a culture that avoids disposables. So think about the next time you go to a grocery store, can you and your family bring reusable cloth bags that can be reused hundreds and hundreds of times? Or think about when you go out for the day and it's a warm day, bring a reusable water bottle and just refill it. Again, those can be reused hundreds and hundreds of times. It's simple things like that that we need to do to protect upstream pollution and the downstream pollution. So basically protects our earth. And that's really what we want to do and why we're all here today. So in this lesson plan, we want to replace a single-use plastic with a reusable alternative. Do you think you could do that in your day-to-day life? And our goal really is to understand that plastic is a complicated material, but we all now know that it pollutes the environment along the entire life cycle. And it should be replaced with a reusable alternative, and we should all advocate for single-use plastic to be banned, basically to not be used. All right, well, I want to thank you for this. Next week, we're going to talk about zero waste communities, and I'm really excited about that lesson.